So that's where when we talk about Couchbase and what does it really allow you to do? Well, it helps you innovate more quickly because it has built in, right? That foundation Tim described of it's an in-memory caching store, right? Super high performance. Everything happens in memory, including queuing, session caching, replication, all of the activities that Couchbase does. Runs in memory first and then is persisted to disk. You might say, oh, well, what about ACID transactions? Well, we have that, right? Actually have a patent pending right now for distributed ACID transactions for JSON documents. And distributed means happens across nodes, happens through replication, but we won't release the transaction until everything completes and says the job's okay. So if you want ACID transactions in JSON or in NoSQL, we're a great solution for that. And of course, you want that JSON flexibility because, as I mentioned, your account profiles, they really, if you're doing personalization, you really like having that flexibility of change the document just to adapt to a particular attribute of a particular user. Like, Jeff, when he's shopping, he likes blue. So give him blue attributes. That's fine. But then you want that transactionality. Developers, pretty much every developer universally, this is a generalization, but I think it's still true, that everyone knows SQL, the SQL query language, right? It's been around for decades. And so using SQL as the foundation for how do I query the data is just intuitive for developers. And, it's easy to read, it's easy to understand, it's easier to debug than 3GL oriented kinds of programming languages. So developers really like SQL. Our language, we call it SQL++. That means SQL for JSON, and it looks identical to and behaves identically to the SQL that you already know. Having search in there, your users can't type right when they're putting into a search or a selection box. So give them full text search to actually identify information in the system, or do things like geolocation, as I mentioned earlier. Real-time analytics is becoming more and more popular. So potentially having an engine that does analytic processing along the active data that's running in the system would be useful. We have a customer, Domino's Pizza. You probably have ordered pizza from them. They do point of sale analytic processing and figure out, well, what's a good next best offer to give you, perhaps while you're watching the NBA playoffs and the Warriors Kings game goes into overtime, and hey, you want something more to eat, right? Domino's might make that offer for you. Having the ability to react to information in the system with an eventing service that does streaming or change data capture style activities is also really, really useful. And then being able to support your mobile devices, right? Do geographic replication or synchronization, and also offer an embeddable mobile database client. That's everything that Couchbase does. And you'll see that what ends up happening is you get more features in Couchbase than you do when you're choosing multiple databases, as we mentioned before. And you're able to eliminate the redundant data storage underneath. You're able to eliminate many, many instances of those databases that you're using. You're able to eliminate all of that interface processing. My CTO Ravi describes it as you're only running sideline to sideline, but you're not advancing the project downstream or advancing the ball towards the goal. That kind of activity is eliminated, right? Because we have a single system that is doing all of this consolidated style of operation. So what does that mean for your development teams? It means you can iterate more quickly, right? You have much less data replication and data sprawl, as I just mentioned. It scales much more easily because there's only one thing to scale and not this collection or web of things to scale, right? You spend less time maintaining it. It's much simpler. Therefore, it's probably higher quality. And then ultimately is the theme for this event, right? It's going to lower your operating costs. From the standpoint of managing it, as well as from the standpoint of running it. You lower your infrastructure costs, lower your software costs, all the way around. And Phil Apercio, my friend at Broadjump, really I think nails the value proposition here. Right? It's really unusual to get more capabilities, more features in less time and save money all at the same time. It's like the trifecta of value.